Our main goal is just to make sure, end of the day, our employees been taken care of and our customer been taken care of. If you do those kind of things and get your customer products on time, everything else will take care of by itself.
Just a quick reminder for you to like, subscribe, and rate this podcast so we can get your feedback and know how to make it better.
Hey, it's Ari. Welcome to another episode of the Made in America podcast. Today, I'm on with Tushar Shah, President of Airex Rubber. Tushar, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure, Tushar. It's the Made in America podcast, my friend. So we always start off with the same two questions. What do you make and why do you make it?
Yeah, good questions.
Thanks.
So Airex Rubber, we manufacture a lot of rubber parts related to aerospace industries. You know, we do like a lot of rubber seals, gaskets, rubber boots. We also supplies surface treatment processes for rubber masking. And why we make it is it's just there's not too many rubber industries in the U.S. you know, and especially in Connecticut, you know. So the Valley area used to call Rubber World, you know, and now there's not too many rubber industries in Connecticut, you know. So it's a unique. That there's not if you search some other companies, metal shop or anything like that, you find 100 lists. But when you're looking for rubber companies, not too many out there, you know. So it's a unique business, right, and a unique need. So that's
why
what
we do it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'm really excited to kind of go through the story, Tushar, because I think it's just really interesting. I think you've got a really interesting story kind of getting you here. Probably people have noticed the business is in Portland, but your accent isn't from Portland, Connecticut. So we've got a whole kind of story there. It's also a business that's been around for a long time, and you're the first non-family owner of the business. So I think that's a good story. And then, of course, we really have the part you brought up, which is you're really filling a niche in the market. And I think that's a really interesting place to be. So we got a lot to cover, but it's always good, I think, to start with the farthest back and then work our way forward. So let's start with your background. So the business Airex Rubber is in Portland, Connecticut, but you're not from Portland. Where are you from?
So I'm from Norwalk. So you know, Norwalk, and it's just it's only 68 mile each way.
That's
you know?
right, only.
It's just only, you know, and it's not bad, you know. But good thing, you know, I don't mind driving for now.
That's right. That's right.
You know, but at some point we're going to move closer, you know. But right now we're from Norwalk, Connecticut, born and raised in India, you know. So and my background is I'm a mechanical engineer. Last almost 18 to 20 years, I've been working in the manufacturing field, you know, so started as a technician and you know, in between the jobs went to the school, you know, did my bachelor, work as an engineer, process engineer, senior engineers, and now I'm here, you know. So when you were growing up, how did you know you wanted to be an engineer? Like, is it something that your father did? Like, what was it in your mind that was like, this is what I want to do? So it's just one of those things, like I always had in my mind, I'm handy, you know, try to fix some stuff here and there. So it's just one of those things that I've always had in my mind. I want to be a mechanical engineer somehow.
You
know?
knew it from
somehow I knew it, you know. So and I went for it, you know.
Yeah.
And I enjoying it, you know. So it's like a problem solving skill, right? Like problem solver, you know. So every day you're working on manufacturing. It's the same thing, right? It's a problem solving. You connecting all the puzzles and putting it together, and end product is customer, make sure they're happy, right? So.
And is that what kind of drove you to it? Like as a kid, looking at something physical and trying to figure out how it works, and then putting it together. Was that kind of
something that, you know, when I born and raised, right? It's always we were outdoor. You know, we wasn't involved too much in computer and everything else, or games and everything else.
No video games.
No video games that time. You know, so first time I probably started using computer, it was probably I was in the 11th grade.
Okay.
You know, so, but, you know, all those times you always playing out there, doing something, trying different things out, you know, and so, but that's my background.
That's right. Did you start working before you had your bachelor's degree, or did you get your engineering degree first?
Yeah. So, when we came here, I started as a technician, so internship programs, So I used to work for Hart. They used to call it Black and Decker,
Yeah.
now owned by Stanley. I used to work there for 3 years, and then
Doing what? What was your first?
so my role was more like engineering technician. So I was doing a lot of testing, validations, helping out any new product they're doing, testing, working on the floors, doing procedures, training, any repair and overhaul. They have make some tools that come from field and you'd refurbing it. So all those things I did for almost their 3 years.
There you go. That's a real problem solving, right?
Yeah.
Something, because if their field it doesn't work, you got to figure out what went wrong. How do I get it back working and send it back out again?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So you had no degree and you got into that work to start, but then you decided to go back to school?
Yeah, so same time, actually, I was in Fairfield U, and that's how I got in my internship through them, So when we came here, I was working in CVS, any college kids, right? Like you have multiple jobs, working 80, 90 hours, and I was going in school, paying everything off, while I'm going in college. But it's just one of those things. So when I started there, then we go through many other manufacturing jobs in between, so.
So was it your first job in manufacturing was like a work study through school? Is that what you're saying?
It wasn't study through school. It's just I had a job, as an engineering technician. They were looking for people, and I was working there full time, So.
And where did you go after you worked for Black and Decker? What was your next step?
So once it's about time I was graduating, and so there's a company called Derby Cellular. They used to in Derby, near Ansonia area, and they were making rubber parts the way we're doing it now. And the rubber parts they were making, they were like 10 times scale than what we do today, probably more, So I learned a lot of processes, compounding with the rubber on those sites, work there
it's
for
making tires. Like, what are you making?
So over there, they used to make rubber seals for your car has seals around the door or trunk, so they were used to make a lot of those seals there, extrusions, some molded parts and everything else there, So was there for a year and company decided to move. Right, so they sold the business to somebody in Georgia. So I'm like, I'm not moving to Georgia. I'm here, family here, right? So in between, I got the job in latex foam there in Shelton. So worked there for almost 4 years.
Still doing sort of process engineering.
Engineering, improving related. So all those time, always in field working with the operators, working with the supply chain, working with the purchasing group, purchasing engineers, all different fields, right? And trying to improve whatever we can, and learn.
And you were improving the process, improving the product, everything about sort of how you can make it better, faster.
100%,
Yeah. And so, you're working in all these jobs, kind of going through these different corporations, and then at some point you decide you want to own your own business?
Yeah. I know. It's one of those things. I kind of fell on my lap, kind of, but through working with some agency out there, But all those years, also working on the field, but also I'm more on entrepreneur side as well. It's just one of those things that like to do my own things, right?
Yeah.
So started looking around and come across Airex, right? And so that's how I got in.
Were you always entrepreneurial? Like, a lot of times people talk about like that, they were in their youth, they would like sell stuff or run a paper route or whatever. Did you always sort of have an entrepreneurial gene in you?
Yeah, I think so. All those years I had something like always trying something like, buying this or, selling sometimes, when you're a school kid, right, you're trying to do something like selling something out there. My father used to own business in India, right? So I was always helping him,
Okay.
So
what kind of business did he own?
He used to own like a tea, he was like a big distributor, like a wholesaler for tea business. So, so always helping him, so it's one of those things probably came from him and then it just started growing, I guess, And it's in the U.S. It's like a land of opportunity, right? So there's always the opportunity there. You just have to look for it, So it just something came across, and and it was a good fit, And
Had you been looking for? I mean, was there a point in time where you said to yourself, "Okay, well, by the way, by the point you bought this company a year ago, you'd already been married for like a dozen years or whatever."
Yeah.
So were you sort of in your own mind or talking to your wife and sort of saying, "Hey, like we're saving up to get ready"? Were you always looking? Like when did you make the decision?
It just before we bought it, like a year ago. One of my friends, we were just talking, right? And he had something, some companies where he was looking to invest in. I said, "Oh, I don't mind running it for you. I'm a mechanical engineer, and also that didn't work out. So that kind of gave me some ideas, like maybe, because I always want to do something for myself. And I said, it's a good way to do it where, it's my field, right? Last
Right.
20 years, always work on the floor. I don't mind get my hands dirty, working with my team, So it's just one of those things came out across,
So once you made the decision you were going to do it, what was the next step?
Searching.
That's it.
Google.
Google. Business to buy. Really?
Yeah.
That's what you did?
Yeah.
So then what happened?
Then a few things came up, right? And I started reaching out to a couple of brokers, and somebody had this on sale, so started
So
talking.
did you reach out to a broker first, or you heard that Airex was for sale? How did it?
It wasn't, I didn't know Airex. I just reached out to see somebody had something for sale for manufacturing. I said, what it is, let's look into it and start getting into more information about it. Did the numbers, did the tour, and finally everything come to an agreement, So it's just one of those process where it was a long process,
Yeah. Well, I think it'd be interesting if you could maybe just like walk us through. You said it was like a long process. So sort of walk us through from like, you get introduced, you kind of walk us through the process, how you made it happen.
Yeah. So what happens? So once we found it, right? So and the way it works, you once you work with the broker, you have to sign a non-disclosure and all the NDAs and everything else, and once you sign it, then they'll look at you look at the documents, right? And once you review the documents, basically you review all the numbers and make sure it makes sense to at least move forward, And the good thing about Airex was in the industry since 1943, right? So it's not like somebody just opened 2 days ago or a year ago, right? So it already has a credibility, right? So we walk through the sites, everything checks out. You put an offer, right? It's just like any home buying process, right?
Yeah, right.
You put an offer, they like it, then you work with the bank, and they pre-approve you and just go through all the accounting documents, I guess, and work with the, bank in between. Then they go through all environmental and all those things in between, So, and then it just, once you have clear to close kind of, right, you just go for the closing,
There you go.
It's just like a standard, any home buying process, right?
Right.
It's just more involved where there's more CPAs, there's more inventories, more assets, there's multiple ways you can do,
So it must have been good kind of going in an industry, in a business that you understand. Like
Yeah.
You understood rubber products. So it must have been kind of easy for you to look at it and sort of know the questions you got to ask, the quality of the process and all that stuff was pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward. And the thing is, the main thing is like, if you work in the process, like it's an engineer on the floor every day, it's just one place to another place. That's how I felt it, because it's just, I've been working in industry for 20 years, right? So it's like, it's just learning from going from one place to another place, it's just now you have to wear more hats, right? Because it's just not just one hat, right? Like, you're only doing process improvement. Now you have to do
a lot more
things,
Yeah.
But it just, I love it, I work under stress very well, and end goal is to make your customer happy, right? So that's the goal.
Yeah, and that's the same everywhere you go. Yeah, listen, I think having worked in so many different places and seen so much must have been a big help to kind of get. It's not like you worked at one place for 20 years. You've been through so much different stuff. Change has been a big part of your life, so this is just one other opportunity.
Yeah.
So what's sort of the history of Airex? You mentioned that it started in 1943. I mean, your parents might not have even been born in 1943.
Yeah.
So what is kind of the background of the business generally?
So as I said, they since been in industry since 1943. It started when the Airex started supporting a company called Piper Cub Corporations. we used to supply like shock cord and shock seals, and they used to go through their like small airplanes under like with the landing gears, you know.
Okay.
So that's how Airex started, you know. Since then, you know, we started growing in different. We started doing different materials, so started growing into the field for started supplying the seals, gaskets, plugs to like a local solenoid industries.
Local what?
Solenoid, you know,
Oh,
so they make
solenoid,
the
yep.
valves, you know.
Yep,
So
yep.
they used to make those solenoid industries valves, and from there, our customer grew, you know. So we started supplying like abrasive resistant rubber masking. So basically, instead of a lot of places we're doing special surface treatment processes, we supply like a tape. Instead of taping it, we supply rubber masking, you know. So that goes through like a grit blast process, shot pinning process. Sometimes they go through like a plasma spray processes, you know. So we supply in aerospace industries where they using our mask, so that helps them with eliminating a lot of their processes, time in, you know.
So right now the main thing you guys do is in the aerospace industry?
That's our main niche right now
Yeah.
for aerospace. But we do supplies like, you know, oil industries, medical.
Okay.
We do solenoid industries, right, and we do some work for automotive industries, you know. But our niche is in aerospace.
And so in the aerospace, what parts do you guys make? I didn't quite follow.
Yeah, so the one we make is rubber seals, gaskets. We make molded rubber parts. So
It goes on what, for example?
So it goes in helicopters. It could be we making parts for that goes in surface treatment processes. They make rubber seals, rubber gaskets.
Got
you
it.
know, landing gears. Some parts it goes through Sikorsky rubber. You know, those rotors. You know.
Okay.
So there's so many parts, but anything you can think of with rubber, we can do it. You know. So yeah. So it's one of those things that like a lot of times every company is working out there, right? And all right, this is a bill of material for 100 items or 200 items, right? And one thing they always miss is the rubber detail or something is so small, right?
Right.
But that's always, they be like, at last minute, I really need it now. Who I can call, right? So we are the person, right? So we do everything in house, you know, for rubber sides, you know. So Airex does all the designing in house. If customer don't have any designer, we can help them with the design side. We have our own chemistry
Really?
lab. So any chemical, we can develop a new chemical or rubber elastomers, or if they have some requirements, we can make it to their specs. You know, we have our own testing in house. We are tooling group where we manufacture our own tooling in house, and same thing in manufacturing. So, and quality and everything else. You know, so we are ITAR registers and AS 9100, ISO 9001. So we are all certified. We just did our audit a few weeks ago. You know, so that's why I couldn't come over the other day. You know, but
That's what's going on.
yeah, you know.
That's cool. Why do you mentioned earlier that like sort of there used to be a lot more rubber industry in Connecticut and there isn't anymore. What sort of drove that? Was it just kind of moving it to overseas cheaper? Like
Overseas, probably, you know, and also moving out of probably more like overseas, because a lot of time, you know, environmental and all those things, you know.
is there a lot of challenges in rubber manufacturing from an environmental standpoint?
Yeah, environmental, but more like it's just I think a lot of those rubber industries and everything else, like, you know, cost and everything else, you know. So definitely it probably moving out. That's just, you know, my opinion. But rubber industry is like not too many out there. You know, nowadays everybody's more looking into like how I can make it better with the machining parts and technology sides, you know. So all these things here, like possibly a lot of it's overseas, but it definitely is coming back, you know, because last few years, right, the COVID time, and a lot of people like relying on other countries supplying the material, and they saw a lot of supply chain issues, right? So for us, you know, the good thing about Airex is like everything done in house from start till end. So if customer comes to us and said, I need this material. We don't need to source any material out there. We don't need to have anybody make our toolings. We do everything in house. So we have control over whole process from start till end. So it's a one-shop deal, right? They comes to us and say, here's the blueprints, make this part, and we will happy to do it.
You could just get it done.
Get it done, you know?
So kind of doing that conversion from you being working for someone else to now kind of running the whole shop, right? So you've got ultimately HR rolls up to you. New business development rolls up to you.
Yeah.
Quality, customer satisfaction, all rolls up to you. What's it like?
It's work, but definitely personally, it's part of any ownership, right? Like it's part of the doing business, right? Like, but definitely it's a lot of work. We have a good thing at Airex. We have a good team. Everybody allocated to right team. So whenever we need any support, everybody jump in. And it's a family owned, right? Husband, me, and my wife run the place, right? So we work great together. So she handles all the quality side and HRs and office order and all those entry. I'm handling more like engineering, operations, and tooling and all those sides. Sales. So it works really well, but it's not like it used to be before, right? Every Friday or Monday you get your paycheck.
Yeah.
Now it's like our goal is to make sure our employees are happy and we taking care of them. And so this way, if we taking care of them, they will taking care of you, right? So so that's our goal. So
Yeah, no doubt. So what was the transition like? Because I mean, you're the first non-family to own the business. Was it difficult to sort of earn the trust of the employees when you first got started and get to know everybody? You're coming in brand new.
It's it's a both way streak, right? So for employees, it's more like, hey, if somebody coming in and hey, are they going to move out of country or are they going to move out of state? Do we have a job? So the good thing about us, like when we started, even though it's not like we living out of state, right? We live in Norwalk. It's still 65 miles, 68 miles drive. We come in the morning. I usually be there before 6, and usually almost last one to leave, So, but at least they see it, I'm working side by side, even though we are the owner, but I don't personally. I'm just like any of, they can reach out to me, and they can talk to me anytime. I'm working on the floor. We have customer call one day and said, I need this part. And I'm on Saturday, I was working on the floor, making parts, right? So for them, it's just, I'm one of them, so they felt good about it, and the thing is, our goal is to, all these years, Airex did great, and now it's time for, we want to bring it to the next level, right? So we're always looking for new ways to do something, improving, our processes, how we can quicker turn around to our customers. So there's always we trying different things out, but we have a great team, from customer service to all the way to the productions, so everybody work, everybody flex each other out, help each other out, and I think we are blessed to have a team like this, because you can count on,
Yeah,
so it's
sure.
a good team to have. Yeah.
When you first started, did you come in and have like a all hands meeting to introduce yourself? How did you kind of introduce to the business?
So they already knew beforehand,
They did.
they notify to the employees, So when I started, we had all our group meeting and then, walk around, introduce to everybody, So, and we had our previous CEO, Dave, was there for about 2 months, while I was there training under him and make sure everything done right, So he still, spoke to him almost every other day,
Even now?
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you about that. So to transition in, you had the previous CEO was working with you full time for like 2 months in the
2 months.
transition?
Yeah, we were working together, and he's happy because now he handed something that now he knows it will be like there, right? Not like just somebody coming in, right? So he's happy. We speak to him every other day, and every time we need any advice or anything, just say hi to him, so it's just one of those things,
Yeah. Has it been what you expected it would be when you first got started? Like, no?
It's one of those things, right? So it took us about 9 months to a year to close, right? And
Oh, really?
yeah, it took
Because you
long.
closed March of last year?
Yeah.
And so you were working to get to the closing for even a year before that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it took just about a year.
Okay.
So, but what happens in between, like, all right, I spoke to my wife, right? Hey, we doing this, right? And she's like,
she was on board right from
she's
the
like
beginning?
on the board,
Yeah.
but then about a month ago, we know like if someone was get there. So I asked her, maybe you want to take a tour, like somebody else going. So maybe you want to take a tour. It's a good time to do it, So
She hadn't even seen it.
She
You're a
hadn't seen
month
it.
before close. She hadn't even
She
seen
don't
it
know.
yet.
She's like, all right, okay, we're closing, right?
She trusts you, apparently.
Yeah, I guess. So she went in and she come home and it's like, do you know what you're getting into it? But it's a fun, it took us. It's a lot of work, right? It's end of the day, we trying to do all those things that make improvements, but it's not like, as you said, right? One beforehand you are on one end, now you're on now you're other side, right? So it's like now our main goal is just to make sure end of the day our employees been taken care of and our customer been taken care of. If you do those kind of things and get your customer products on time, everything else will take care of by itself.
Yeah.
So you don't need to fix all the metrics. Take care of those two, everything else works out by itself, So
That's a pretty astute way of learning, because sometimes you can come in, especially doing something new, and when you're owning everything, you can see all of the challenges, all of the places to improve. And one of the mistakes I see a lot of people make is trying to move 15 things at once.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you have not gotten caught in that trap.
We did one by one. We have a good thing, as I said. We have a good team, right? So we have different groups there. We always trying to work on new things. To me, the way I think is like if this thing's not broken, don't fix it, right? So focus on the things where you can start improving, but also in between you fix low hanging fruit. That is something we can able to do quickly, right? So there's so many things. If you work in manufacturing, there's so much thing you can do. It's just you cannot do everything, right? But the main end of the day, you improve your lead time, you improve, customer communications, raw material tooling, all those things that we're trying to fix. It just end of the day, it will just help our customers, So
when you think about low-hanging fruit, when you came in, what were some of the things you looked at and said, oh, let's work on that? Do you remember some of the initial changes that you guys made?
There's some process related, especially, but the main thing we did on financially, right? Like, go through all the POs and everything else, all the purchase order we put it for purchasing, go through each bills, right? And say, all right, I want to review each one before we send the check out, right? And we find so many things where like, hey, we're paying for this for almost 8 years. We don't even need that service. We switched to the new server. So so there's so many things we found in between that we kind of fixing it, so you just go one by one, and always look into different things. Like we had parts where we were manufacturing, we had some issues with the quality, so I was looking at the process, so we found a way, and now we have 100% yields, So,
wow.
So we those are the things we're trying, that it helps because that will affect customer on time delivery, right?
Yeah.
Now customer not getting their parts on time, now they are delayed. It's just a chain effect, right?
Correct.
So those are the things we're trying to do on our end, So
That's really cool to be able to find some improvement, especially since I know, we talked about this sort of before, but you didn't buy a struggling business. You didn't buy something that was going out of business. It was just somebody wanted to retire. There was no more family to take it. And so you're sort of starting with something that's like in decent shape to begin with. So then you're looking at just how do you make good better?
Good, agree, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Where did you, a lot of people, who are listening might be thinking about, well, they wish they'd started their own business. Where did you learn how to even do this, right? You just sort of get started. You just sound like a natural, right? Just going through your POs, just looking at how you understanding that you got to take one thing at a time, understanding the focus of customers and employees to drive value. Like, where did you learn this? I mean, are you reading business books? Like, where are you?
It's just hands-on. The end of the day, it's all number game, right? You need to know your numbers, right? So anything you do, if you don't review your number properly, what's coming in, what's going out, is simple as that, right? If it's coming in less and coming in less but going out more, all those things you got to look at it, right? So you just each line item you have to go through and see where is my expenses coming from, right? And then go from there. But that's what we did, But can you stop everything? No, you cannot, right? If you're buying something, can you plan it ahead? There's so many things you can do. It's just matter of good thing, that's why I said it's a husband and wife team, right? So we always talk about, when we're going home together, and it's like, all right, what can we do, and why we having this thing here? Why, so we always talk about that,
Right.
So it just end of the day that will affect your bottom line number, right? I think that definitely help us going through each one by one. And once you reviewed one time, you don't need to go back again.
Right.
You just go to the next one.
Move on.
Move on to the next one.
Don't, no navel gazing. Don't stay too long. Make a decision, make the change, move on, next thing.
Yeah,
let it
and
ride.
when you're, before we were on the employee side, so it's like, all right, you put your input, provide your suggestions. Now it's up to them to make the call. You can give your recommendations. Now on my end, it's like, I see the issues. I know how to fix it. We're going to take actions.
No.
Right, because we don't need to get anybody's approval.
That's right. You don't need to wait for anybody anymore. How did you, before you went into this, because you and your wife never worked together before buying Airex.
Yeah.
Did you guys spend any time sort of thinking about or planning, like, how are we going to go into this together? How are we going to like make sure that we can be effective at work, but not let it dominate our whole lives when we're at home? Because you still have 2 kids you got to raise.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a 10-year-old and almost a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a job unto itself.
Yeah.
Did you guys talk about that going into it?
We did, but the main thing is, even though she's there, we probably hardly talk to each other. It's it's one of those things that like she's busy in her stuff, doing all of her work, and I'm doing busy with my work. So we hardly, like, maybe lunchtime we go for a walk and talking, or say hi to here and there, but nothing like she's next to me, right? She's in her own office. I'm in my own office doing my own thing, right? Sales, quoting, talking to customers, while she's doing anything with the quality, help out in shipping, or anything with the HR or office paperwork, all those things she do on her end. So we are not trying to, putting we'll give each other space. So this way we work,
Right, and you got the trust and confidence to say, hey, these are her areas of responsibility.
100%.
She's going to take care of that, and
Yeah.
you can just kind of do your thing, feeling super confident that she's doing it, and she must feel the same way.
Yeah, she's a smarter one, So, so I know, whatever she does, she's great at it, So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you, there's a lot of organizations in Connecticut that we've talked to other manufacturers about, whether it's, Manufacturer CT or CBIA or CCAT or whatever. Have you found, as you kind of been on your journey of sort of business ownership and kind of getting to see what's out there, have you been working with any of those organizations?
Yeah.
And how have you been leveraging that to help your business grow?
Yeah, so right now we are working with CCAT right now, so they have some good programs that we're looking into it, We work with the CBIA on some of the things, and Concept as well, and they actually help us with some of the grant for, we're doing some cyber security and everything else. That part of the requirements for, government contracts and NIST certifications, so we're working with that right now. So on top of it, we're doing, getting some for employees engagement, so we're trying to improve their skills and all those things. So they're taking some courses to improve their knowledge and skill as well. Personally, I'm taking some classes right now.
Really?
Yeah. So so one of those things that I'm trying to learn is a CNC machining and everything else. So last semester I took one class. Next semester I'm taking some master cam and all other things. So I mean, same time in my teams, I'm improving their skill, but at the same time, I want to be their backup. So if they need any help, I want to go in there and help them out. And that's one of the area. Yes, I know some stuff here and there, but I'm not good at it, because when we're working, we making rubber molded parts is very precision. That's why it's not like we work with very tight tolerances. So I want to make sure I know how to do it. So if they need any help, I can go there, roll up my sleeve, and can help them out. So those are the things I'm learning on my own. just to see if I can help them out more.
How did you end up getting engaged with CCAT? Like, how did you find out about those programs?
So we had Paul is from Connecticut. He's the chief
manufacturing officer.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
So him and the CBIA, they both came to our sites, took a tour and everything else. and we talk about the CCAT, and we connected them that time, So I was there last week at their facility, and they gave us a tour, Jeff and Dave, So they were a great guy to work
over in
with.
East Hartford.
East Hartford, yeah. So they gave us a tour and see what they're working on, see how they can help us out. So they're always there. And I think they're doing a great thing, So that definitely helps for sure,
Have you found the kind of the manufacturing community to be sort of welcoming of a new owner and trying to integrate you into the ecosystem?
Yeah, and the thing is, end of the day, nothing changed, right? Even though it's a new owners, but Airex is the same Airex, nothing changed on their end, 'cause they still getting who are we working with, they're still getting the same order, and our customer getting the same quality products, so nothing changes, and so personally, I don't think I see anything there that, hey, it's a new owner or anything like that, but they're getting the same service like before,
Right.
Yeah. So.
Maybe even a little bit better in some cases.
I would say it's the same. Dave was doing great job. So he's there to support, and personally, I'm very accessible. So whenever they call, I'm there in the morning, and I'm there till last. So they can talk to us. Our goal is, in the end of the day, serve our customers, whatever their need is. We are here to help. So a lot of time in Connecticut, there's so many aerospace industries and a lot of customers there, and they just don't know about Airex Rubber. I'm like, here's a rubber company. Is right next to your next door, right? And we can help you, whatever you need. If you're working any developments, you need any parts per blueprints you want us to make it, we can do anything you want.
Kind of get the word out there. So you're a year in, a little more than a year and a half almost. What do you see? What are your plans? What's your goal? Do you have like a vision of what you'd like Airex to become over the next 5-10 years?
Definitely. Personally, the way there's so much work out there, right? So it's just, I don't think we even scratching the surfaces, right? So for us, we definitely want to grow, right? So we're looking to more talented people right now, right? And the same token, we definitely looking to grow on our end, right? So, and serve more customers. So we're reaching out to new customers as needed, trying to work with them, see how we can help them out. So those are the things we're doing our end, but definitely next 3 to 5 years, we are looking at like what are we doing now? At least grow by at least 30 to 40% more. So
wow, that's
the goal.
That's the goal.
Right?
If you got to have a goal. If you don't set a goal, you can never get there, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Tushar, it's been really, really nice talking to you. I think it's a really, really great story. You're doing some amazing stuff. It's a great, American dream immigrant story. It's a great Connecticut business success story, and certainly some really great stuff. So we wish you a ton of success, and I'd like to kind of flip us over to some rapid fire round of questions to close us out. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. If you had to do something other than be the president of Airex Rubber, and it could be anything in the whole world, what would you do with your time?
Oh man, that's a tough one, right? I'll probably more in rental properties.
Oh, there you go. Another entrepreneurial effort, building up some rental properties. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Do you have a favorite business book that you've read?
Not really. Not really. I'm not good with a lot of reading parts,
No.
Yeah, only to the points where I know I need to do this. But that's one of the things I have on my to-do list, like read at least one book a month, So that's one of the goal I'm trying to do, You
get some book on tape. You can make that commute you've got there pretty effective, yeah. When you take time off, are you a staycation person or exotic destination?
We always traveling. So like on the weekends going to friend house. So I guess
staycation, yeah, that'll do it. Tushar, what's something that you learned early in your life or early in your career that you think's propelled you to the success that you've had?
And to me, it's like do the right thing, and you have to have in your heart that I want to do something, right? And just go for it, because a lot of times people are scared and everything else. Just make a goal and just keep trying. If you may fail 100 times, but you don't know, you're almost close to the success, right? So it's not like I'm successful or anything, but I'm just saying, keep trying. We're trying always new things. Maybe it fails, didn't work, maybe try something different. Just keep trying. If you keep trying, something got to click one day, So that's my click, I guess.
Amen to that. What's something that you learned later in your life that if you could go back and tell young Tushar and he'd listen to you, you think it'd make a real positive impact on him?
One thing I always want to do, it's just something off the guard, right? It's like I always wanted to sell cars,
Really?
Yeah, it's just one thing I never did, but it's not like I want to do it, but I'm like, I wish I did that, because sometimes you're talking to customers, selling, and all those things definitely help you a little bit more, So that's
A little
one
sales experience.
sales
You think-
experience.
You
Yeah.
think if you go back and do like, hey, go do a sales job for a little while, it could really help somebody?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Wow, that's actually really good. That's actually pretty good advice. Tushar, it's been a real pleasure for having you on the show. Thank you so much and best of luck.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Made in America with Ari Santiago is brought to you by Compass MSP.
Thanks for listening and spending some time with me today. My goal is to help build a strong manufacturing community, and it would be impossible to do without all of you.